Hey, everybody, welcome to Remove Logic Radio. I am your host, Karen Ray Lacey, and we are glad to be back to visit with you this Thursday. And this is the end of June coming to a close. We have been interviewing men for Father's Day month. And Father's Day month, the men that we have interviewed have just been mind blowing. It has been such a blessing for me, and the response that I have been getting from the interviews that we have had this month has been overwhelming. It's been a blessing to others as much as it has been to me. So I'm very grateful for this platform and the opportunity to give men the opportunity to share their stories and their points of view, because men, sometimes they're overlooked. And when God said to interview men this month, um, I'm telling you, my mind has been blown away with how transparent these men have been, how open and honest they have been, to the point of the manifestation of their own healing and some of the things that they have not dealt with. It has really been such a blessing. So I'm glad to be able to have the opportunity to present these men this month. So, look, happy Father's Day again as the month is coming to a close. I am interviewing tonight a young man that I affectionately call my son. I had the opportunity to meet him at work, and I was his team lead, and it was just something about him. Um, Not that he was one of my favorites, but he edged his way into becoming a favorite of mine, and because he just was such a good guy. He was very diligent in his work, but his demeanor was just he was honorable. He always said, yes, ma'am, wasn't required, but he always responded with yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. But by the time that our time together as me being his team lead, and he was going to another team, and I just felt that, you meet people and their time in your life is not short. It's a long haul. And I went to him and shared with him that God had told me that he's a son, one of my sons, and we were going to be connected for a long period of time. And one of the things that I learned about him was change. And I laugh at him every time it was time for a change because of our work environment. He just had this look like, oh Lord, now what? And so I would laugh and tell him, I have one just like you at home. I have a son that does not like change, and I recognized it just immediately with him. Anytime I would come to disseminate any information or any changes or anything that I needed to share with him that was given to me through management, he just had this look like, Lord, what is next? And so, but I just love him so much. I got a chance to meet him and his family, but I am connected to him, and this has been now, he can tell you how long, but it's been some years. And but yeah, I'm going to introduce to you guys, affectionately call my other son, Chris Robertson. So, Chris, welcome to Remove Logic Radio, and I want you to just, have a moment to introduce yourself. Uh, you can share your age if you wish, and just where you are in life right now, and we will move forward with the interview. Welcome, Chris Robertson.
Thank you for having me on. First off, I just want to say, you know, um, it has been a blessing, having you in my life, and I was honored that you even asked me, to be on your show. For me to be able to, help you out or support you the way that you have always supported me, no matter when, and in a lot of different ways. It's an honor to be able to, get it back to you. You know that, well, first off, I'm 38. I do have two kids. Two daughters, and currently going through a divorce. And it's crazy that you mentioned change. I wouldn't even think that you would have remembered that. It's not even something that I remember myself, but that is me. That's who I am. I do like going into my corner, minding my business, and just living that way. And I do feel like over these past couple of years, that's what God has been trying to bring out of me. Get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Um, he has a purpose for me, and I can't live out that purpose um, in my comfort zone. So you definitely have always been a catalyst of that because you are the exact opposite. You go listen to God, and you go go where you're supposed to go, where you're supposed to go, without asking no questions, with a smile on your face. So I'm definitely glad I have you in my life for that. To be that type of inspiration, because you very very much so are an inspiration. I always have been. But yeah, that was back around when I first met you in 2018.
Okay.
So it's been about 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say five, but yeah, I figured that it was a little bit more than five. But one of the things, again, like I said, you were always so mannerable, especially, just meeting someone and then um, not knowing my demeanor. You just came across that was very genuine of you to always be respectful. So that was something that I noticed right off bat, being a young man, and how you would say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, even in the workplace. You
Yeah.
just don't find that very often. So I know
What's
you
the
said,
truth of me? Everybody didn't get that.
I know, I know. I always would, I raised my sons to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, to me, but it wasn't about being strict. It was just out of respect. And
Exactly.
when you come across it just from on the exterior, you don't see it very often. And that's
Yeah.
not a put down on anybody that doesn't, but it is recognizable. So
Yeah.
where did you get that from? Who instilled that in you, the yes ma'am and the no ma'am?
I was definitely I was raised by my mom, my grandmother, definitely them. Um, just always taught me to be respectful to not only my elders,
Hmm.
but also um, just being a good man, like you said, always doing what I'm supposed to do. And it was just something that I always got I always got rewarded for, so I can't give them that. Like they always made me feel good for being a good child. So
Yeah.
that carried with me all throughout my life to being a good man. Like um, that's just I guess part of my DNA at this point.
Well, they did good. I can say that because it does. It resonates. Now, you said something to me, and I know that you shared with me that you were going through a divorce,
Hmm.
and there was a period of time that I met your wife and the kids, and um, I was connected to you, so I wanted to know them as well. And I remember meeting you guys to go out to eat. And
Hmm.
the first time that the girls met me, they had me riding bumper cars. And so that was just like, that was a moment that I'll never forget. They were like, "We want you to ride." I was like, "I'm just meeting y'all. I don't know about getting on these bumper cars." But they
Yeah.
did, and we had a good time. And I met your wife, then wife, and we had a good time as well. But over time, we would have you and I would just have random, hey, how you doing, through social media. You would see me or I would see you, and we just kind of check in. And when you share with me that you were going through a divorce, I was shocked. I was totally shocked. And I'm not diminishing, look, how you felt about it, but just my time with you guys, that was something I don't think I would have ever seen coming.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about that as far as being a father and now you're going through a divorce and kind of what you're feeling or even what you felt, I don't know where you are as far as stage, of my knowing and where you are right now. So let's just talk about how that was for you, if you want to share how it came about and then how you felt about it, or even what you went through.
Yeah. At that stage, when my family met you, I wouldn't have ever thought either that we would be getting divorced. We definitely had our issues, um, but I always felt like, everybody has issues. We can work them out. We both are believers in Christ, and we both believe, that or I know it now. At least I believe that He could turn, any situation around.
Yeah.
Um, so that was always in my mind. I remember, like I said, told you, I always figured, I never know what God is doing. But when I met you, the impact that you had on my life, I was really hoping that that would carry over, to my wife, and to my family, and be able to help, get us to a more successful space in our marriage. But of course, as time passed, as like me and you kind of we didn't lose connection, but since I wasn't at SBA anymore, and like you said, it's very sporadic, and I guess y'all, y'all had a good time, y'all didn't make the connection I wish I would have made.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's not what God wanted, you know. And now I see that and I accept that. But it's just over years, I do feel like um, at that time, back in 2018, although I was a believer in Christ, I believed in Christ my entire life. I was very lukewarm. Uh, was very disobedient in hearing God, like we stating, like in change, hearing God telling me, "Hey, I want you. I know you believe in me. I know you love me, but it's time for you to grow now. It's time for you to step outside of your comfort zone."
Mm.
And I was
Wow.
not doing it. I was not. I know He wanted me to serve more in church. Serve. I never had served in church. Um, I would only go to church on Sundays and be very inconsistent with that. I wasn't a spiritual leader for my children. I wasn't making sure that they were knowing God on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't leading them in any type of Bible study. And I know uh, I hear every time I went to church, that I heard God telling me this directly, like He was talking to me. And I was always the type to be like, you know what, I can do it next week. I can do it next
Mm.
month, and that month and that week turned to a year. And as those years passed, my marriage was going down the drain as well.
Wow.
And it got to a point where I was serving my wife and my children,
Mm-hmm.
almost like idolizing them over more than serving Christ.
Oh, wow.
And the the failure of the marriage, me trying to save the marriage, it definitely took a toll on me. I was in the deep depression. It broke
Mm.
me, to the lowest of lows. Uh,
Mm.
uh, Before that, I would have never believed that I can be that depressed, uh, or be that sad, be in that such a dark place. But it's a place that I needed to get to, so I can be completely destroyed and
Mm.
be rebuilt in God's image. So it did get me to a point where I just sacrificed everything to God, and it was a long period where it was just me and God, no social media. I was in my Word all day, praying all day. If I wasn't in church, I was at home studying the Bible, reading different biblical books and stuff like this, trying to know God on a deeper level, and that's what brought me out of that depression. And although I went through that, I do see now that it was for a purpose. I'm glad I went through it now. As I told you last night, I could have been married. We could have had a happy marriage. But if neither one of us, especially me being the leader of my marriage, was never, leading my family to Christ, but just being lukewarm, not trying to mature, it wouldn't have mattered. The happy marriage wouldn't have mattered if we wouldn't had that if we weren't letting God lead us. And I much rather go through what I went through and develop a relationship with Christ that I have now, instead of just being ignorant and in the darkness, but
So
in ignorant bliss. Yeah.
do you have regarding depression? Is there a scripture that has become your favorite scripture, or anything that you found that you could stand on? What helped you to come out of depression?
I have a friend. He's a pastor, and he was telling me about meditating on the fruits of the spirit. Um, that scripture I used to meditate on it every day because I wanted to I wasn't feeling none of those things: love, joy, peace.
Oh, wow.
Those weren't things that I was having. So I would wake up every morning in like 30 minutes. I would just repeat them over in my head, and the full armor of God. I would repeat that scripture over and over in my head to cover myself in it. Because although I was going through that, I still felt knew God. I still knew God was there.
Yeah.
Um, and I just meditated on those words, on those scriptures, so that I could try to replicate them in my life, even though I wasn't at the time. But over time, I did. And it was not necessarily what really helped me was not necessarily those scriptures. It was stories, like the story of Joseph.
Mm,
It really helped me out during that time because, and even Moses, but Joseph, when all the stuff that he was going through, he stayed faithful to God. He had trust in God, and the people that did him wrong, his brothers, he blessed them. I mean, he blessed them. He forgave them, and that's the
yeah.
type of man I wanted to be. Even though I was very bitter, very angry uh, at my wife, I didn't want to harbor any anger against her. And it just taught me that at the end, of course, at the end of Joseph, he is leading over Egypt and helping his family out after all he went through. Now that's what I was hoping for me. That I get my family back and all is forgiven, and
Mm-hmm.
now we're in a better place than what we were before. Um, that didn't happen, of course, but God did. He saved me in that process, and I think
Mm,
that's what that was for. And for my wife, you know, she's going to have her own story as well. I hope what she's going through is bring her closer to God as well. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
and for our children too.
So where were you when you just finally accepted that this is the will of God? I know, sometimes when things happen in our lives and we don't know the inevitable, but once you get to that inevitable place where you recognize, like, this is not what I hoped would happen, where were you mentally? This is men's health month as well as it is Father's Day, mental health month. And
Yeah.
so when you talk about the anger, were you at a place of anger, or were you at a place of sorrow, even at the place where when you had finally accepted it? Where were you mentally?
Anger, sadness, sorrow. Felt like
Okay.
I had lost it all. I remember this was maybe 2 weeks after um, Zava moved out with the kids, and she took a lot of our, pretty much most of our stuff. It was hard
Yeah.
for me to even be in the house, but
Mm,
at that
wow.
time, I still was trying to save our marriage. Somebody, a prominent member of our church, actually, he reached out to us and he wanted to mentor us. And it was for me at that time. I took that as a sign that God is still trying to save our marriage,
Yeah.
because for him to reach out to us was meant a lot, because it's steps that you got to go through to get before you even get to him. So I thought
Mm,
that was almost like a miracle. And he reached out to me and he was like, "Was it something I wanted to do?" I said, "Yeah." And he reached out to Zava, and she was like, "No." And
mm,
once she saw him know, knowing who he is, the
mm-hmm.
encounter that we have had before with him, I knew that I felt like God was telling me, "You can give up too." Because
Mm,
I was going, I felt like I was gonna never give up until the papers were signed. But the fact
wow.
that she turned down that help from this particular person, I was like, I don't think there's nothing I can do no more. And I just gave it up, and I was still sad because I didn't want to disappoint God. I don't want to have to get I don't want to have to get a divorce, but it was a situation I was being forced to, and it takes two. But
Well, it seems like, I mean, I know you talk about you being lukewarm, prior
mhm.
to the divorce. And so now that you're in it and moving towards it, are you closer to God now?
Oh yeah, 100%. From that moment that I told you I finally gave up to now, uh, was very hard. I went through um, emotional roller coaster. But God really blessed me, and when I was with Zab, I was very isolated.
Okay.
It was really just me, the kids, and Zava. But as we separated, it opened up opportunities for me to build newer relationships with people at church and the people that came around me and prayed for me and checked up on me and who allowed me to share my story. Who shared their stories with me. All the men, that I joined a small group and started going to man church every Wednesday.
Wow.
And it's
Wow.
just the men that were there and sharing their stories, and like I said, being transparent really helped me out, and just the friendships that I developed. And even though I was telling you about YBC, Young Black and Christian, I met a friend in there. She was going through a divorce at the same time, and she's a prayer warrior, and she
Wow.
was already ahead of me in her marriage, not in her divorce. She was actually just getting divorced, finalized. So she knew everything I was going through and was able to be a friend to me and pray for me and talk me off the ledge
Yeah.
um and that's what you need. That's what I had been running for from the entire time. Fellowshipping with people at church. Going and even I joined the ministry at church. Um, that made me I would reach out to people and I have to pray for them. And now
Mm.
that's totally outside of my comfort zone.
Wow. Wow.
Um, but the feedback that I would get from praying to those people just showed me how much God was moving in my life, even though I was going through the worst time of my life. Um, Being a blessing to other people as well, helped me out and helped me get out of that and helped me just understand God on a deeper level. Um, and like now, like I said, I'm at peace. It's still bittersweet. You don't want to have a divorce on your jacket, and definitely the stuff that I'm having to my kids. Um, that still hurts, but
Yeah.
I know those are things that over time, God will heal, and we develop new normals, and hopefully, blessings will sprout, from those situations as well.
Yeah. The the thing about God is, you know, when we're going through, he makes himself known, how he is that very present help in time of trouble. But we have to turn and access him. You talked about being lukewarm and then connecting with the people, allowing people to know you and listening to their stories. I think that's one of the things that is so important, is to be able to find yourself amongst believers when you are going through. I was telling a friend of mine this morning that I do not want to sit around misery when I'm in misery. you know
Hmm.
you you want to be around people that can bring you to a place of of hope, you
Yeah,
know where you're not just sitting around, sharing sad stories, but you're hearing victory from somebody that's been in your story, that has walked in your
exactly.
shoes. And it does help. And one of the interesting things about listening to you is, as I started, how you are a person that does not like change, and how this change has brought you to a place of victory. It's interesting how God can use something like divorce to draw you closer, but also give you the strength, to be able to bear change.
Yeah.
And I remember you calling me, what was it, last year? I think that's when you had told me that you were going through a divorce, and we just kind of, well, we didn't call me. We were messaging back and forth, I think, in Instagram. And then and eventually you did reach out maybe a few months later, and you were like, hey, can I call you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
No, no.
And you call. I was like, sure. And you share with me that you were going on a date, and I thought, wow, you you have gone through a process of, because I remember you not really hanging out with anybody. I remember all of that. I remember you staying in the house all the time. And so even just what last week I called you and you told me you were on vacation. I was
Yeah.
blown away.
Yeah.
And you shared with me that you had connected with this group. So tell me about the group that you're in and
Yeah. So
where you found the group. Let's tell the listeners where you found the group.
I found a group on Facebook around the time in December when after Zava left. I did want, you know, I have a lot of worldly friends. Still my friends and love them, but I needed godly friends because I was getting very worldly advice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very different from godly advice, and I wanted to be surrounded around a group of my peers, which I mean in my age group. Because even at church, I was in my men's group, and all these fellas, which I love dearly, and I'm glad. I look at them as like mentors at this point. They're like
Uh-huh.
twice my age, but I wanted
Okay.
people my age, that might be going through the same things, or just just not even going through stuff, but just be able to fellowship
Mm-hmm.
um, as Christians. So I looked for a Christian group online, and Young Black and Christian popped up. I
Mm-hmm.
joined the group, and me being me, immediately gravitated. This within the group, we have our own little separate chats, almost like small groups. And I found one for introverts, and
Wow.
yeah, and it's funny you talking about change because even I was the catalyst in there telling them, hey, we got to come out of our comfort zones. I feel like God, we can't be introverts and do what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they were very close friends. I was telling you about my other friend, Jackie, that I met in the group, um,
Uh-huh.
who been they've been a blessing on my life and making sure checking on me all the time, making sure that I've been all right and praying for me and just walking this walk with me. And yeah, but the group is great. It's many young Black Christians between the ages of 18 and 40, all on different walks of life, and have very sometimes deep conversations and prayer requests and uh, it's a lot. It's real. If you're a young Black and Christian, I feel like you definitely want to join that group because you will. They're very welcoming. You can make new friends and you know have a good time in
I
Christ, man.
think I think that's very powerful. The age group you said 18 to 40, that's a large spectrum of ages of different experiences. So tell me about the fun that you had, because some people think Christianity just kind of is a fun snatcher. So, where you, and now I'm a believer, and so fun is just out the window. And I did get a chance to see some of your pictures when you were there just this past week. And I was like, wow, you had the biggest smile on your face, and you being the introvert that I know that you are. And now you're out here taking vacations and hanging with people that you don't know. All of this is just the glory of God. Coming through a divorce. I know that you're not out of it, but even the fact that you're walking through it, but there is joy, there is light. I can see the light. Your whole countenance, just seeing you today, because I haven't seen you in a while. Today I'm just seeing you, and so your countenance looks different. So tell me about some fun that you found in this new walk in your life. What kind of fun have you found?
Well, being in this group has taught me, this is a problem that I always had with my church. Is that when at church it feels like, even with my peers at church, excuse me, feels like, excuse me, that everybody is trying to put on this air, like everybody, like we don't make mistakes,
Yeah.
you know, uh,
Yeah.
it's not really a lot of transparency.
Gotcha.
Um, but in YBC, it has taught me, like I said, we all on different walks, and sometimes the stuff that's going on in the world is funny. We are, of course, they're not doing nothing like nudity or you talking about doing drugs or something like that. They when they talk about sex, they say, remember, husbands and wives can have sex. What I'm saying? Stuff like that. And, just different funny, memes or just the music, of course. You don't have to. You can listen to Christian music, Christian rap. It sounds very much like uh
Secular.
secular, but it's talking about
Yes.
Christ.
Yeah.
Christian R&B. You still
Yes.
can go out and have dinner. You still can, like when we was in Nashville, we had two different parties. We had a Western party. We had everybody dressed up in Western outfits. We had a 2000s party,
Wow.
and in the 2000s party, it was like a silent party where we wore headphones, and it was like a secular station. But it was like playing the hits, and it was like they weren't like bad songs,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was just like party songs that we grew up on, and we remembered and had a good time. We were dancing. We went to a water park in Nashville. Uh, a lot of different. They went on like a hike in Nashville. Different, small groups went to different brunch spots. We went
Wow.
to the African American Museum of Music in Nashville,
Oh, wow,
and
Chris.
we walked around Nashville downtown and saw stuff and had an all white party. And of course, we worshiped together. And
Come on now.
yeah, once you develop a relationship with Christ and you start to mature, a lot of you're not really pulled in by worldly stuff anymore anyway. Like you kind of back away from it. It doesn't intrigue you as much. And
Right.
that's why it's important to fellowship with like-minded people you are equally yoked with. Because
Yes.
you will see that fun is going to happen when you around people that you like and you are on the same state of mind. You can
Yeah.
be at your house and have fun. With people that you
Yes.
like.
Yes. I think that's beautiful, because again, you talked about being lukewarm. And then when you went all the way in, you found life and life more abundantly. It's not
Yeah.
so much as, now I'm a believer and I just need to sit still and I do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things about following God is to have that abundant life that He promised you. And oftentimes we just think, well, those exterior to us, or even as we accept Christ, that life is just going to be so drastically boring. And it's not. You really do find this life that is beyond what look beyond logic, removing the
Yeah.
logic,
Mm-hmm.
because you just it's just like there's nothing that's going to be fun anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
you find that joy everlasting, you find peace, laughter. It's just so much. And I tell people all the time that, once I just completely said yes to God, my life has not been the same.
Yeah.
I've teetered on the other side, like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm gonna go to the edge of the ledge, but I'm not gonna jump.
Yeah.
But but once you just surrender all and see the life that God really truly has for you, you'll be blown away. And it takes away, I think, some of the struggle of being pretentious, some of the struggle of where, what, I can't let them know I do this, I can't let them know I believe this. But once you just are authentically who you are,
Yeah.
it really makes room for you to have a wonderful life. It really does. And it's not something that you really have to sell on anybody, because they see the smile on your face.
Mm-hmm.
They see, like, man, she look happy, or man, he's different. You can see it. And it's not where you're just like, I gotta, I gotta show them pretend to be happy, but you are genuinely happy.
Yeah.
And I can honestly see it in you. I remember when you had called me and you were gonna go on a date, nothing major, but you were just gonna get out, and you wanted to make sure that you didn't do anything against where you were headed.
Yeah.
And your concern was, I don't want to fall. And I was like, you said, do you think I should go? I was like, yeah, go on your day, go have fun. But look at the life that you have. You're not sitting at home. You're not depressed, and I know when it doesn't go the way that you want it to go, that doesn't mean that life is over for you.
Yeah.
And I remember in when before I got a divorce, and I was praying, 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 God save my marriage. And it didn't last very long, to be honest with you, because God had already shown me that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. But you know how we forge forward anyway, thinking we can make the difference. But God already knows that no difference will be made. Like, you can pray all you want to pray, but there is no difference going to be made in this, and this is going to be for your good, that I'm going to have to look break this away. And
Yeah.
that's a hard pill to swallow. But I
Yeah.
remember, this is when I was a flight attendant, and I just happened to be going from terminal B to terminal D because I had an international flight to catch. And as I was walking, my countenance, I was sad even walking to my gate, because I was thinking about my marriage coming to an end. And there just happened to be a gentleman in front of me. He was on his phone, and he was saying to this person, there is life after divorce. And I was just like, okay, I was ear hustling, so to speak, but that conversation was for me.
Yeah.
And he just was telling this, and I knew it was a woman. I could tell it was, and he was just telling her that there was life after divorce, and you're going to be happy, it's going to be okay. And I was like, and as I was walking, I noticed, listening to that my steps got lighter, that I was like, okay, I could feel his words even though he wasn't talking to me. And as I was waiting at the gate for my flight, I went to get a cup of coffee, and he was in the line, and I just let him know, hey, you don't know, but when you were talking to, I heard your conversation, and when you said there's life after divorce, that it was going to, it helped me. I let him know that it was a blessing for me to hear his conversation. And he told me that it was a woman, of course, that he was talking to. He said, she's a dear friend of mine. She's going through divorce and she's having a hard time. But I just wanted to let her know, that there is life after divorce, and I've been through it. So I know. And I said, well, it really blessed me. And that was something that I carried, even though, look, I had prayed, I fasted, I was doing everything I could, believing God for that marriage to be saved. And it was not.
Yeah.
And I finally surrendered. But the evidence is how we walk it out. Like, yes, there is. You're not up under the bed. Yes, you get angry, and I'm sure, looking back, there are moments where you still do, but you still are living a life after
Yeah.
divorce. And like I said, when you call me that day, and I remember, so I said, hold on, I was like, let me give you a scripture. And what I gave you was First Corinthians 10 and 13. And there hath no temptation taken but such as is common to man, but God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. So even as we go through things that are common, God knows that it's not just coming to you, it's coming to others. You're not going through anything that nobody else has gone through. But I'm going to give you a way to bear it, and then I'll give you that way of escape. you
Yeah.
know uh, and as he gives you the way to escape it, and then you bear it, that life after divorce,
Yeah.
you be able to bear that. and you get it through the groups that you
Yeah.
connected with, the people at church, a random person just hearing that there is life after divorce. From what you've learned, what is something that you would share with someone your age, or even as you've been in this group and their peers now that you have, what are some of the things that you would say is a takeaway emotionally?
My biggest thing is that just surrender to God. I had so many. I wanted to be a Christian my way.
Mm,
I wasn't
that's
just out
good.
here. Even though I was I said I was lukewarm, but I wasn't a heathen. I wasn't out here, doing drugs and cheating on my wife. I was, like you said, I was a good person, and I just felt like if I prayed every night and I read the Bible every once in a while, that was good enough. I'm a good person. God gonna bless me. But uh, I was afraid. I loved rap music. I was like, how come I'll never be able to give up rap music? I'll never be able to give this up. Different things. Being going to certain places or even friendships that I had, and I want to do it my way. And I would say, I still hear a lot of people, even in our group, feeling like they don't have a connection to God, or they've been praying for something and God's not answering their prayers. I would say, whatever you hanging on to, whatever fear that you have, uh, just give it to God. And I would
Yeah,
say, isolate yourself, because that's what I had to do. I
yeah,
isolated myself. I took time off the internet, all the junk that we see on there all the time, and I just went by myself for a period of time in the Word every day. 3 times a day, I'm reading the Word. I'm praying 4, 5, 6 times a day. I'm getting out the house, just going to the lake and walking around, being in nature and seeing God in the trees and in the
mm,
fish in the pond and in
wow,
butterflies
wow,
and
yeah,
just fully committing. The same time I commit to Facebook and Instagram and whatever TV shows I like, committing that same type of time to God. And you won't hear God unless you will go to your word. God through that word. And
yes,
so it's a lot of people who struggle, who are lukewarm. I would just say, I know you feel convictions. I know you go to church and your pastor feels like your pastor talking to you, and you feel like you're gonna put it off, or you have some type of fears or doubts. You got to get over that, because God is going to He's going to continue to pursue you, and He's going to continue to put something on your back to make you fall in line. And that's because He loves you. Same as the
yeah,
same way I do to my do to my daughters, and it is better on the other side.
yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Just fully surrender, fully commit.
That is so wonderful, Chris. I totally see your surrender. I just remember my first meeting with you. You had a look of worry, a look of concern. Remember I would say, "You all right? You doing all right?" You just shake your head, yeah. But I see now, looking at you, I can see your surrender, and I see the peace, um,
Yeah,
and I see your joy. And I just the day that I called you and you said, "I'm on vacation," I was like, wow. And you were excited to say it. It's funny how you think about this life that God has for us. But like you said, to totally surrender, you get so much more in return, and more than what you thought you would have gotten.
yeah,
When he said, "I came that you would have life and have it that more abundantly,"
yeah,
more abundantly. To think about the abundance that we get when we surrender, I think we would have never stepped out and done the things that we do until we get to the place where we believe and that faith kicks in, and you say, "I can have it all. I'm better than this. I'm bigger than this." And that hope comes, and then you step out on hope. you
yeah,
know you step out on faith, you step out on hope, you step out on the belief that I'm worth this. I'm
yeah,
worthy to have a good life. I deserve a good life. Where the enemy or your emotions can have you thinking, "Hey, I don't even deserve to smile today." And that's a lie.
yeah.
And just that in itself. But I can see all of that in you, and I'm so proud of you. I really am. And I just say to you, keep going, because you don't know what it is that you can bring to the table until you take a seat at the table. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
I really do thank you for. You've always been since I first met you. You've been an inspiration. You carry yourself like a woman of God. I've seen that immediately, and I just appreciate you always being there when I call. If text, you always text back or call back quick. You're not somebody gonna leave me on red for a week or call me back 2 months later. you know, and always coming with the word. That's very important to me, and just being genuine and real and sharing, being transparent with me, and just the way that you live your life. Like I said, always moving where God tells you to move, and just watching you continue to grow. It's been a blessing on my life. I'm so happy for you and so
Thank
proud of
you.
you and everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. And like I told you, we had that little moment, and I said to you, if there's anything that you need, I'm here.
Amen.
And I mean that. I really mean that. But I'm glad to see where you are. And when I say see, I can see it. And it just makes my heart happy to see it. I know we've had some very deep conversations, but I knew that once you got on here and whatever that you wanted to share, that it was going to be a blessing to somebody. I
Yeah,
already know that it's going to be, because there are, young men your age that may be going through and may not be at the place of divorce, but
yeah,
may not have married, baby's mama, but still is having that struggle with seeing their kids,
yeah,
or their baby, their daughter, their son. And but to be able to navigate that and the emotions that go along with it, and the fact that you can say, hey, surrender to God, is going to help somebody
yeah.
today. It's going
And
to help.
I would definitely say don't give up because I do remember I felt like my life was over. I felt like that's what it was gonna be. Felt like I was gonna never be happy again,
Come
and
on.
I made it through that. I'm happier than I probably ever been. It's really
Right.
not even happiness. It's peace.
Yeah.
It's really peace. Like peace is greater than happiness.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I'm still going through a lot of stuff that I was going through, but it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
I see God's purpose. I see God's hands moving, and I just would like to tell anybody, man or woman, who's going through some type of depression, don't give up. It gets better. It might be a long time, but it's gonna get better.
Yeah.
And the quicker you surrender to God, the better it will be because you'll still be going through that stuff, but you will have peace while you're
Yeah.
going through it.
Yes. And he's faithful to put the right people around you too. Yeah. And
Yep,
that's the other thing. You've said a few things that I just want to summarize, that you surrender. Then you put yourself amongst other believers and you listen to their stories.
yep,
And then you extended yourself and you begin to pray for others. And you
yep,
also saw the strength of God through your prayers. And
yep,
then you went on after that, you went and connected with a group. And so, you've taken the steps that are necessary to come out of anything. Is firstly go to God, but then you make those connections and you're confess and transparent about how you're feeling, but you listen to the testimonies of others. And
yep.
so I'm just grateful to God for your walk. I know that there is so much more to come. And look, when you talk to those girls, tell them that I said hello.
I
And
will.
you're certainly in my prayers. And I thank God for you just saying yes to Remove Logic Radio, not just to me, but to Remove Logic, and to be able to share your story with the audience of Logic Radio show. So thank you so much for coming on.
You are very welcome. Yeah, I'll be anytime you call me. I'll come.
Okay. All right. I'm going to hold you to it because I know there's more to come. So as you grow and there are things that you want to share, you just let me know. Okay.
Will do.
All right. All right. This has been Remove Logic Radio Show, everybody. And this is my son, Chris Robertson. I thank you so much for coming. And I look forward to you guys. Look, we got July coming and we got some great things coming in July. I want to say to you, happy 4th. of July, because I won't see you again, and I don't think until after the 4th, or maybe on the 4th. So, but yeah, Remove Logic Radio Show. Why Remove Logic? Because God is not bound by logic or logistics. So, as Chris said, it's not over until God says it's over. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Have a great weekend.